Good Saturday morning, everyone. Today on Perspectives, we've all heard the term post-traumatic stress disorder, commonly called PTSD. This morning, we're going to provide information and encouraging news for veterans who suffer mentally and physically after the trauma of war and combat. The statistics are staggering. Now, according to the National Institutes of Health, the last several years have seen a dramatic increase in the number of Iraq and Afghanistan war veterans seeking help for PTSD. The health concern can manifest in many ways, from depression and physical symptoms to alcohol and substance abuse. But help is available. State and nonprofit organizations are close to achieving their goal of creating a residential detox and treatment facility in Mobile. Now, so far, more than $4.5 million have been identified to renovate a historic building on Spring Hill Avenue. However, it's going to cost more than $2 million more, in fact, to complete the renovation. In the 2 years it's been open, the current Veterans Recovery Resources Office has already served more than 360 veterans and first responders. Many say it has changed their lives.
Ended up being a machine gunner during combat operations in Muhammadiyah and Fallujah. Saw 6 of my friends go down in a horrible way. The transition as far as turning into Iraq, it was not a very good experience for me. And I left all my men, and I felt like I abandoned them. I went into a slump. I started turning to drinking, and I became very depressed. I owe Veterans Recovery so much. My life is different, 180-degree turn. It was an awesome experience, and I think I love myself more today than I did 1 year ago. I know I do.
I heard about Veterans Recovery Resources through a friend of mine. One morning, I was on my way to work, and I had woken up, and I drove right past my office, and I pulled in, and I went inside, and I broke down right there. I said, I need help. I was frankly shocked how fast they started helping me. That struggle is worth it.
2 inspiring stories, and our guests this morning are all U.S. military veterans. Dr. Jeremy Fletcher, Director of Community Development at Veterans Recovery Resources, and John Kilpatrick, Founder and Chief Executive Officer of Veterans Recovery Resources. It's a nonprofit, community-based substance abuse and mental wellness program. In addition, this morning, we'll also talk to Jamie Odom of the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs. He is Mobile County's Veterans Service Officer. Perspectives continues after this quick break. Our guest this morning, John Kilpatrick. He is the CEO and founder of Veterans Recovery Resources. And joining us also, Dr. Jeremy Fletcher, Director of the Community Development at Veterans Recovery Resources. Gentlemen, thank you very much for both being a part of the program this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Why don't we first start with, who do you serve among the veterans community?
So, you know, our theory on who do we serve is we serve whoever walks in the door or whoever calls. And a lot of times it's the veteran themselves who, you know, heard about us and need some assistance. But more times than not, Eric, it's the family or a loved one who sees a veteran in need and reaches out to see, if we might be able to assist them.
And the veterans program that you all have created, I love what you say, you have a program created by veterans for veterans. And what are some of the specific needs of veterans who come to the Veterans Recovery Resources?
So in our outpatient clinic, we really started out to address the gap in mental health services for veterans along the Gulf Coast. And what we soon realized is that very few just have a need for mental health care. And so we incorporated primary care, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and then something that Jeremy will talk about today is what's really important about our program is the peer support aspect. That by veteran, for veteran is really the key because like a lot of communities, we think we're pretty special. And so, you couldn't imagine what I've gone through if you haven't gone through it. That's not necessarily true, but that's what we think. And so that's just one barrier we take out of the way with peer support. We have another veteran there to kind of share their experience of going through the process, and it really makes things work well. We get to solutions faster, and our treatment takes better, it lasts longer, and everything gets better with peer support, I guess.
And I think a part of that statement you made, you both have an understanding because you both are combat veterans. We thank you both for proudly serving the country as well as the armed forces. And Jeremy, we're going to bring you in here on that point that John was talking about. Now, you're called an expert in finding meaning and purpose through pain and suffering. How exactly are you helping our veterans?
That's a great question, and I think the first part of that is through personal experience. So myself, I've had some struggles with depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder, and I just happen to be a physical therapist by trade and specializing in chronic pain. So when I say I'm an expert, I've both had life experience as well as formal training in that area. And the way I use that experience through my work at Veterans Recovery Resources is, as John mentioned, through our peer support program. Peer support is essentially a program that allows people to have shared experiences and have shared suffering together, but for the benefit of both people. And so that was my experience through my recovery through depression and anxiety. And so I get benefit from these relationships that I get to form with veterans.
Do you feel that veterans have more problems today after dealing with the type of combat situations that we have in the 21st century, or we just know more about it today and more programs such as what you all are offering are there to help the veteran?
Yeah, well, it's hardly ever either or. It's almost always and there's probably a combination of both of those things. And that we know that veterans today had different reasons for serving through our current conflicts. They experience things differently now than they did before, and the transition home is much different. Society is different. So there's many different aspects of the variety of things people might experience today versus other periods of conflict. But we do know that there are things that are unique to our current veteran population as well. So I think that's one thing that we want to address with our community development program, is developing a robust community advisory board that represents each segment of those generations of veterans.
Jeremy and John, you've had a lot of success in the last 2 years and more. Give us an idea of how successful the program has been.
Well, you can talk about quality and you can talk about quantity. And so we opened in November of 2018, so just over 2 years, and we've served about 375 veterans, service members, first responders, and their families. So that's a lot of folks that we've been able to assist. We were very fortunate to get some key funding from folks like the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and Cigna Corporation to really develop our peer support program, which makes us unique. So through that funding, Dr. Fletcher and his team that developed our peer support program, we're able to take that idea of peer support and infuse it into our clinical practice, which has really just been, what we call in the military a force multiplier. So we're able to kind of multiply the clinicians that we have. The interventions work faster, folks get to solutions faster, and they seem to stick better. So we're just now, doing assessments kind of post intervention on a lot of folks, but it's really rewarding when veterans come back and tell you, that you saved their life and that your program impacted their life in a meaningful way. So we have had a lot of success, and it's all due to folks like Dr. Fletcher and our team and our community, really, that have supported us the whole way.
And Veterans Recovery Resources has big plans for even more. In fact, I understand that you're working towards the funding now for the residential detox and treatment facility. Tell us about that.
That's right. So when we started, that was really the key piece that was missing in our mental health community. The most urgent and unmet need was residential and detox treatment. So just to put that in perspective, there's no detox facility, a medically monitored detox facility south of Birmingham. So it's a 3 to 4 hour drive for anybody, not just veterans, our whole community. There's no detox facility. And so we've acquired the building. We've got a historic building. We've put together a new market tax credit, historic tax credit, and opportunity zone funding to account for about $4.5 million of the $6.5 million project. So we're out raising another $2 million that we need to get that building built, and it's going to be a facility that fills a key unmet urgent need in our community for residential treatment and detox. So we're very excited about that.
And of course, we wish you a lot of success with that and continued success with the programs serving our veterans community as well as first responders and their families as well. John Kilpatrick and Dr. Jeremy Fletcher, we thank you so much for coming this morning and sharing about Veterans Recovery Resources.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
Jamie Odom of the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs. He's up next on Perspectives. And our guest this morning joining us for a conversation about veterans programs and veterans benefits, Jamie Odom, who is the Mobile County VSO for the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs. And James Odom, we thank you so much for being a part of the dialogue this morning.
Well, Mr. Eric, thank you for having us and discussing the benefits and the services that we provide for our veterans.
You know, when we first met and talked about some things, you were sort of giving me an update and understanding better of the difference between the Alabama Department of Veterans and the VA that a lot of people are more maybe familiar with in certain sectors. Why don't we first start this morning talking about the differences and what does the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs offer when we talk about benefits for veterans?
Well, our office is located at 1150 Government Street, room 107 in the Bay Hayes building, and we provide the services for the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs, which is a state supported office or a state office. The federal government has three parts, which is the benefits section, the cemetery, and the health care, which is the new clinic on Range Line Road. The state of Alabama also provides benefits section, the cemetery over at Spanish Fort, and we also provide for health care for our veterans, but that is in the William F. Green home and the other three veterans homes scattered throughout the state.
So when we look at the breakdown of those differences and we start looking at the types of benefits that are given. Now, who qualifies for the benefits from the Alabama Veterans Department? You have to be from Alabama originally when you entered service, or a current resident of Alabama at this time?
Okay, that is in reference to the Alabama Dependent GI Bill, and that is a wonderful benefit that the state of Alabama provides for veterans with service-connected disabilities. And you're correct that you need to be a resident of the state of Alabama 1 year prior to joining the military, and then returning back to Alabama after your term of service is expired. Before 2017, a veteran needs to have a service connection of 20% or more, and after 2017, the percentage rises to 40% or more. The student or the spouse has to currently reside in Alabama and also go to a state-sponsored school, in which we have three of those in our area: the University of South Alabama, Bishop State, and Coastal Community College.
So some very good benefits for those who qualify for those. And you talk about education, of course. major component of what veterans want to take advantage of once returning back from military service. Now, you talked about the scholarships. Give us an idea of how large the scholarships can be, and do you have to apply it for certain areas or any curriculum in those institutions?
Well, the benefit currently is provided for the dependents of veterans, and it's at $250 a semester hour and $1,000 a semester for books and fees. You do have to go to the previously mentioned colleges or a state-sponsored college that is on the qualification list. A veteran or their families can contact our office. We can get the necessary documents for that, process the claim, and the beneficiary of that or the scholarship recipient would need to come in, take about 15 minutes, sign our forms, and we send them off, and they get a certificate of eligibility to the particular school for that the student is attending.
Let's look at something that's going on right now as we talk about our current conditions, and that's COVID-19 and how it has affected all of us in the state of Alabama, and especially we look at some of our veterans returning, looking for employment, and of course a limit on availability today because so many businesses have had to make adjustments due to COVID-19. How, from what you've been addressing with veterans coming to your office and facility, how have you had to address, and give us an idea of some of the problems that you're having to face as relates to the veterans in our community?
Well, whenever we came across the COVID pandemic, our office was traditionally a walk-in office. However, due to the COVID crisis, we're now do the majority of our business by phone, email, and regular postal service. We can do a phone interview, and many of the veterans find it most convenient to do this because we can get our information that we need, interview the veteran over the phone, find out what type of benefits they're seeking, and process the necessary paperwork, and then we can either have the veteran come in to sign the paperwork and do a brief explanation by appointment, or we can discuss that on the phone, mail the forms to the veteran. They would take and sign them, and if they need to provide any additional documentation, they can either bring it by the office and put it in the drop box, or they can mail it back to us. We also have the ability to receive a fax. And we ask that our veterans help us help them. We're there to be their advocate, and we're certainly there to assist them in processing their claims and addressing any concerns that they may have.
What does the term service connection refer to when we talk about that, service connection?
Service connection refers to an incident, accident, illness, or injury, or an event that happened while the veteran was on active duty, and it's contained in the veteran's service treatment records or in their military personnel record, but they still are dealing with that condition today and have a diagnosis and receiving treatment for it.
Now, Jamie, go ahead.
A good example is I broke my arm on active duty. Did my arm heal correctly? Yes, it did. Do I have a claim against the, that I can file against the Veterans Affairs? You can file a claim, but if it does not negatively affect your ability to make money each month, then what the VA pays is compensation, or they compensate you for that negative impact. But if you broke your arm and you're still having complications from it, you've been diagnosed with a medical condition, you're currently receiving treatment for it, it can be linked back to your service, time in service, then you have and you get a percentage, the VA awards you a percentage with a successful claim. That's considered a service-connected claim.
And Jamie, as we conclude here, give us an idea of what the veterans should do when they return home to Alabama. Should they visit both of you or come to your office first?
I would suggest that they call our office and certainly discuss the possible benefits where we can determine if anything happened to the veteran while they were on active duty, if they're currently being treated for it. And you brought up a very interesting point, is that when a veteran veteran comes back from active duty, their first year since their detachment or since the end of their active service is considered a golden year. That golden year provides a veteran with the ability to claim a service-connected condition, but does not have to prove that that condition or that incident happened on active duty. It's automatically presumptive that it did.
Jamie Odom, I thank you so much for talking with us today and sharing some just invaluable information for our veterans. Jamie Odom, James Odom as well, Mobile County VSO, Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs. And of course, we'll be showing information where people can make sure they make the proper connection. Thank you again this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Eric, and appreciate your interest in our office.
We do indeed thank him. And for more information on the programs that help our veterans, please call the numbers you see there on the screen, the Veterans Recovery Resources and the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs in Mobile County. Well, join us here next Saturday morning for Perspectives as we discuss important issues and seek solutions. I'm Eric Reynolds. Have a great week ahead.